Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Caroline Trudeau for the Women Automotive Network, and I'm super happy today to be joined by Josephine Payne from the Ford Motor Company. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Joe. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Caroline. Very pleased to be here.
Yeah, so where are you checking in from today?
So I'm in Craiova, Romania, which is in the far eastern edge of Europe.
And are you in the office today?
Yes, yep. This is my beautiful office. I'm one of the lucky ones in that because I'm President Ford Romania and I'm site director here for the manufacturing facilities in Craiova, that I get to come into my office to run this beautiful plant every day.
Very nice. Are you surrounded by a lot of colleagues there on a day-to-day basis, or is it just you?
No, we're in production despite the semiconductor challenges that we're all facing right now. So we're in production. We have all of our production team here in the plant. We have some support staff that are still working from home in HR, in finance, in purchasing, but in the majority we're back at work.
Yeah, thank you for keeping us rolling. So where is home for you?
So home for me is Essex in the United Kingdom, but I've been based here in Romania for the last 3 years. So this feels very much like home now.
Yeah, after a little while, it starts to feel like home. Home is where all your stuff is.
Well, yeah, I've kind of got it split between between the UK and here. So I still keep a house in the UK, and when I came here, the plan was that I would spend a bit of time in every month on weekends back in the UK, a bit of the time here because my move here coincided with me becoming a grandmother. So it's quite a challenge.
Oh,
So my daughter had triplets, 3 beautiful baby girls.
wow.
So it's made kind of COVID times a little bit challenging, but I'm very, very pleased for technology.
Absolutely. Wow, what a fun story. Grandma, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So it's got to
Yeah.
be hard to have the distance and want to have the joy of sharing a new life with your family. That's got to be difficult.
Yeah, and I think I think everybody finds the right balance for them between work and home life, and I think we all go through different phases of our life, and and I think it's certainly I haven't been as much of a hands-on down the road grandmother, but it makes the time that I spend with them much more special. And they know me as Nanny Joe in Romania. They haven't quite pronounced their R's yet.
It's adorable.
But we spend a lot of time on FaceTime.
Yeah, they all know where the red button is, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
So you alluded to your responsibilities a little bit at the Ford Motor Company. What is the scope of the work that you do there? What are you responsible for? How big is your team? Tell us a little bit about all that.
So I'm site director here in Craiova, and we make the EcoSport and Puma vehicles, and we also make the 1-liter Fox EcoSport engine. We have 6,000 employees on the site. We make just over 1,000 vehicles a day. And we ship them, all over the world, customers in Europe, in Africa. We just started shipping to Australia and New Zealand. So I am responsible for the whole activity here, as well as, in my role as president of Ford Romania, making sure that, we're active within the community and actively involved in industry associations and discussing with the government the challenges and opportunities that we see as a key employer in the region. Ford is the number 2 exporter from Romania, so that gives us quite a big impact on the Romanian economy.
Absolutely. Lots of responsibility with that. So how does that influence the trends that you keep up with at a macro level? What are you keeping up with? What do you read on your newsfeed? What keeps you connected to what's happening in the space?
So there's two real trends for me. I mean, the first is, electrification. Electrification is, it's huge. It is, as somebody who manages a big production facility, you want to understand what's happening and what's coming. And we were very proud to announce, back in April that from 2024 we will be making a full battery electric vehicle here. So that's great news. And obviously, that technology is something that I'm very much focused on. And then the second thing is, as somebody who's based here but whose customers are elsewhere, transportation and transportation infrastructure is a big thing for us. I made the news here locally for saying that I can ride my bike faster than the trains that take our cars out of Romania because of the infrastructure challenges. So yeah, I spent a lot of time focused on that.
Yeah, good. So the transportation themes, are you mostly specifically focusing on what's happening there locally, or more about around supply chain and how your products are getting from where you are to the rest of the parts of the world?
I mean, it is, it's both locally and nationally, and also looking at transportation infrastructure as it relates to electrification. Because we've started and we have installed here on-site electric vehicle charging points, and all Ford facilities globally are currently doing that. But when you look at this transformation of the industry, and as we're at this real inflection point at the moment, I can make the vehicles, but customers are only going to buy them and comfortable buying them if they feel that there is the necessary infrastructure and support network around those. And I think there was a study that said we need 3 million electric charging points in Europe to support the electric vehicles, and we have about 200, just over 200,000 currently. So there's quite a journey for that, and it needs a real partnership between industry and government to deliver that.
Absolutely. Are there initiatives on your agenda that are specifically addressing that there in Romania right now?
Yeah, so we're talking with the Romanian government around the opportunities as part of the next stage of European funding, and how we can use that as part of a Green Deal to really transform the infrastructure here. So yeah, it's something that I meet with the government ministers in Romania, and as part of the industry associations that I sit on, I'm vice president of the Association of Romanian Automotive Manufacturers. We use all of those different avenues to try and and influence and share our thoughts and perspectives on what needs to happen to really be successful in this transformation.
Yeah, true partnership needed to get to the societal shifts that are coming with a lot of these innovations that our industry is sort of carrying on forward on behalf of the world. Really, it's a very exciting time to be there. I do want to get to your presentation at the summit, but before that, I am just fascinated by your career. I did a little bit of research, as one does in these sorts of encounters, and you've spent a long time, your entire career essentially, at Ford. How do you summarize, because I'm sure there's a lot of stories that go with that wonderful career. How do you summarize what your career has been like? 25 years, I think, and 14, 15 different roles. Like, how do you recollect all of these into some summary statements, if you will?
Yeah, so I started in a manufacturing plant. I started in Halewood in Liverpool, making transmissions, as a shop floor engineer, and was really kind of inspired by that to want to think bigger. And I had the opportunity to join the department in Ford, which installs new processes and new factories around the world. And that just took me into just a whole arena of opportunity, working in Spain, in Mexico, in India, in Brazil, working with our design teams to make the product suitable for manufacturing, and all of our local manufacturing plants. And everywhere you go, there's new challenges and new opportunities to learn. And I've done things that I never thought I would do. So I spent the best part of 15 years installing new factories, and new processes and new products on engines, transmissions, axles, even the batteries for battery electric vehicles, more recently. And then I wanted to come home. I wanted to come back to actually operations and running a facility. I'd spent so long designing them.
Yeah.
I wanted to come back to running them, and so for the last 4 years, I've had that opportunity to come home, and I don't think there is any better job in automotive than running your own facility. It's fantastic, and it's the innovation opportunities, the opportunity to work with people. It's just every day, I come to work with a smile on my face. So it's great.
I can see it through your mask. I literally feel the excitement when you said, I'm coming home, and this, I can't think of a better job. Like it comes through the digital. What do you say to women who, in your community there, or, in Romania, in potential employees? What do you say to women who are considering this field, who are considering this part of the business?
Yeah, and I see, and I speak to a lot of women and a lot of female engineers, even in automotive, who shy away from manufacturing, who don't think it's a place for them. And I was staggered when I came to Romania. 45% of my employees are female. That is almost unheard of in a in a large manufacturing plant that's making vehicles, and it brings a different kind of energy, and the diversity of thought, the way that we see the teams working together. It's been really eye-opening for me, and I've gone back and I've looked at it, and I explore some of these themes in my presentation next week, that says, if you look back in history, at the start of the Industrial Revolution, the people who were working in the factories were women. So we have a long history in this. If you look at Henry Ford, when he set the Piquette plant up, in Detroit, where he first made the Model T, there was a whole department of women doing magneto assembly. We have been here since the very beginning. What we haven't done so much is led these facilities. And this is really, I think there is, leading a plant like this is, it's about the processes, but it's about the people. And I think the skills that we bring as women into how we can relate to people, how we can work with people, how we can get the best out of people are just so required in this environment. So I really want to encourage women to think about manufacturing a little bit differently, and really feel that their place is here.
Yeah. And when you say, there's something that you just said that really resonates. We have been here all along.
Yeah.
This is not a new thing. We are just starting to really get comfortable with our voice. And I think because of women like you who have taken that leadership role, we now have women that we want to be like, that we emulate, that we look up to, that we're impressed by, but that inspire us. So thank you for being that woman for me this morning. let's talk about your presentation. Give me a little bit, give the audience just a little tease. What is the punch? What is your key message? What can we expect?
Yeah, so it is that little delve into the history, and then it's really about, you know, how do we find our voice? How do we you know, come and bring those differences, and what opportunities manufacturing brings? You know, people like to go into, you know, product design because they see it's, you know, it's a design environment. Well, you know, every day I'm looking at innovation in processes, in, you know, in differences. You know, no factory stands still. And so, you know, manufacturing, it's just a different kind of design. But for me, it's the variety of the challenge that you have in manufacturing, from the people, the processes. You know, it is just an all-round experience, and that need to you know, if you're interested in coming into manufacturing, to think about real manufacturing, and operational leadership. Because so often we see as women that we come in and, you know, I really don't like the phrase, but I think it's very apt, that we become, you know, the office wives, you know, or the factory wives, and we do the support roles, which are very necessary.
Yeah.
But if you aspire to leadership, you know, of a facility like this, you have to, you know, manage production. You know, somebody needs to do HR and somebody needs to do finance, but to get to the leadership here, if you want to, you know, if you want to come into a job like mine, you know, step forward, be bold, and come and take a role running production, because it is the most fulfilling job you will ever do. You know, and it is, you know, it's a real challenge. So I really want to encourage people to do that, to go into the real kind of, you know, profit and loss accountability areas.
Yeah, I can't imagine you know, when you put it in the terms of operations, right? Like it's probably the P&L and the chief operating officer, if you will, of any company, like all of the nitty gritty and the optimization and what are we spending on. There's just got to be a plethora of really, really interesting topics to look into in the context of the world that you play. So let's talk a little bit about, you said you belong to a lot of professional organizations, and of course in your leadership role have to represent the company. Personally though, what role has networking played in your career, and how do you use it as a tool today?
So one of the things that, you know, I said is I've worked all over the world, and, you know, about 7 or 8 years ago, I relocated to Detroit for a new job, and I knew nobody, and I was asked to join, you know, the Women in Manufacturing group there, and that opened a door to me to a level of networking and support that really enabled me to be successful, and I think, you know, people sometimes, you know, kind of shy away from joining those kind of groups. But you know, for me, it just, you know, when you go into a new environment, taking a new job, you need allies, and you need people who can point you in the right direction, and can really, you know, also provide you some real candid feedback. Yeah, and I found that group of women in, you know, in the Women in Manufacturing team, and, you know, they just gave me so much support, and hopefully, you know, I reciprocated in that as well. And I still, you know, I stay in touch with many of those women today. Yeah, and one of the most powerful things, you know, I was walking, you know, through a plant that I'd never been to before. Yeah, and a woman I'd never met came in the other direction. And she said to me, "You must be Joe. I heard you're coming. You know, it's great to meet you. You know, let me know. You know, anything you need, I will help you. You know, we've got to stick together. You know, we've got to support each other." And, you know, and that was just, you know, yeah. And I think that is, you know, that's the real power of building each other up and supporting each other. And so certainly, yeah, I think it's foundational to, you know, to find, you know, that group of people who will support you. And I think, For me personally, the women's networks within the company have been instrumental.
Great advice. Building the sisterhood. It's really important for us to be there for each other and to learn from each other, especially as more and more of us become part of these leadership communities and these boards. Having an open dialogue in a safe space is really important. Yeah. Wrapping up, second to last question. Tell me, so you're a grandma, and are the triplets boys, girls, mix of
all girls?
Oh,
all
what
girls.
a blessing. Wow, what a blessing.
Yep.
So lots of women going around, plenty. Who is a woman that has influenced you the most, whether it's in your career or in your life? Like, who comes to mind when you think about your top lady?
So within Ford, Linda Cash. Linda Cash was, she was head of manufacturing. She was just, she recently retired, but she, when there was, very few women in leadership positions, and there was nobody to look up to, she was there, lady of color. Who'd really had a tough route through the ranks, but she brought such positivity and such energy, and really, she sent the elevator back down to help us all come up, and that was.
What a great
it was
visual.
great.
What a great visual. I think I might use it. Sending the elevator back down to pick us back up. That's really nice. And then one word, finishing up, one word that you think best describes the opportunity for women in automotive.
Endless.
Ooh, very good.
Yeah.
Endless. Yes, I like it. What inspires you for that word? Yeah.
Yeah, I see, there is, women tend to kind of self-regulate and shut themselves down, and really don't open up to the opportunities that exist. And I think, especially at the moment when our industry is going through so much transformation and changing so rapidly, that nobody has the perfect skill sets for the jobs that are happening and occurring now. And and women, should just go for it. Because the possibilities are endless.
That's beautiful. We finish on that inspiring note. Josephine Payne, thank you so much for making the time to connect with us. And we look forward to seeing you speak at the summit in a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.